All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something I think we're all feeling, that sense of being completely overwhelmed by work. We're going to explore how we can move past that feeling and reclaim what makes us, well, human, especially now in the age of AI. This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. In an era of infinite tasks, we have lost the time to be human. I mean, who hasn't felt that? It's that exhausting hamster wheel of being constantly busy, but not really feeling like you're making a difference. So, to really dig into this, let's use a metaphor. Think of your work, your career, as a garden. This brings us to our first big idea, the garden of productivity. And it really forces us to ask a tough question. Are we just endlessly moving dirt around, or are we actually growing something meaningful?
Now, here's where we flip the script on the whole AI is coming for our jobs narrative. The central idea for today is this. By automating all those repetitive, soul-crushing tasks, we don't become less useful. No way. We actually become more human. It's about clearing out the noise so we can finally focus on what really matters.
Okay, so if we want our garden to flourish, what's holding us back? Well, that brings us to section 2. We're talking about the things that are choking our potential, the administrative weeds. Let's really identify the hidden, draining cost of being busy all the time. First up, a classic, manual reporting. Ugh, you know what I'm talking about. All those hours spent just pulling numbers, copying and pasting, formatting spreadsheets. It's the kind of work that just hangs over your head when, let's be honest, an automation could do it in seconds. And then there's this one, calendar management. That back and forth email tennis match, just trying to find a 30-minute slot that works for 5 people. It feels small, but that mental energy it takes, it's a huge drain on your focus. And of course, email triage. Just sorting, flagging, and replying to things that aren't even urgent. Each one is a tiny little interruption, but they add up. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and it completely kills our ability to do any deep strategic thinking. All right, so that's the problem. But here's the good news. This is where we pivot. In section 3, we're going to focus on strengthening the human root. We're shifting from the problem to the solution, and we're zeroing in on those core human skills that AI simply cannot replace. And the main tool we're going to use to do this weeding is something called applied intelligence. I want you to pay close attention to this definition. The deliberate use of human and computational faculties to reclaim our purpose, not replace our jobs. You see that? It's not about replacement. It's about a partnership. It's human intention working together with machine efficiency. So what is this human root we're trying to strengthen? Well, it really comes down to 3 things that shine when we get rid of all that administrative friction. First, empathy and connection, the very pulse of real collaboration. Second, deep, uninterrupted strategic thinking. And third, genuine creative problem solving. These, right here, are our human superpowers. And now for the really exciting part, the payoff. In our 4th section, let's talk about the human dividend. This is all about the incredible compounding return we get when we take that time we've reclaimed and reinvest it into the things only we can do. Let's define the human dividend, because this is a game changer. The compounding return created when we use reclaimed time to reinforce capabilities that technology alone cannot deliver. You get that? It's not just about getting an hour back in your day. It's about what you do with that hour that creates this amazing exponential value down the line. But to actually get this dividend, we have to lean into some key emotional capabilities. We need curiosity, to actually play with these new tools and not be afraid of them. We need attentiveness, to be the human in the loop, watching for bias or errors in these systems. And maybe most importantly, we need the confidence to trust our own gut, our own judgment, even when an algorithm points in a different direction. So this all sounds great, right? But the big question is, how do we actually start? That's what Section 5 is all about, how to start weeding. And I promise, these are simple, practical steps anyone can start taking today. You absolutely do not need to be a tech genius. It really boils down to 3 simple actions. First, audit your day. Just find one thing, one tiny repetitive task you do every single day. Seriously, start small. Second, choose your tool. Look for simple trigger action or if this then that automations. We're not talking about complex code here. And third, and this is so important, set a boundary. Consciously decide which tasks must and should always stay human. That critical feedback conversation, mentoring a junior colleague, that's the stuff you're making more room for. Now, to wrap all this up, let's zoom out a bit for our final section, purpose over process. Because really, this is bigger than just personal time management. It's about building an entire culture that stops celebrating being busy and starts rewarding real, meaningful impact. Which brings us full circle, right back to our core message. Automation isn't this cold robotic future we should be scared of. When we use it right, it's actually the path back to our most valuable, most powerful human traits. And if there's one thought I want to leave you with, it's this. Machines scale output. Only humans can scale trust. In a world that is just flooded with information and data, our ability to connect, to empathize, and to build genuine trust, that's the real advantage. That's everything. So that leads me to my final question, the one I want you to take with you. As you look at your own garden of productivity, what weeds are you going to clear first?